This afternoon, a message from the Japanese government in reply to the message forwarded to that government by the Secretary of State on August 11th. I deem this reply a full acceptance of the Potsdam Declaration, which specifies the unconditional surrender of Japan. In the reply, there is no qualification. Arrangements are now being made for the formal signing of the surrender terms at the earliest possible moment. General Douglas MacArthur has been appointed the Supreme Allied Commander to receive the Japanese surrender. Great Britain, Russia, and China will be represented by high-ranking officers. Meantime, the Allied armed forces have been ordered to suspend offensive action. The proclamation of VJ Day must await upon the formal signing of the surrender terms by Japan.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's video. I'm downtown Indianapolis here, and there is something here that I've always wanted to see ever since I've known about it. Today, we're going to check out the memorial for the USS Indianapolis and talk a little bit about the history surrounding that story. Let's see if we can find the monument. Yeah, right here is the Northwest Quad sign, and we're gonna make a left down this little alleyway, and it should be right down the road. Let's see if we can find it. Looks like we're entering a little park area, the canal, I guess. Kids over there playing, but the monument is just right here over this hill. Wow, we got some flags. We got the United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, the American flag right in the center. And check this out. Before we get down to the monument, you can see the top of it there. I'll take a look at this little cement slab here, USS Indianapolis. CA 35 Memorial. We're gonna walk down this little path here, and we will go visit the monument. Check it out. All right, so here is the memorial monument. This thing is amazing. It's beautiful. We're gonna walk around it really quick and then tell the story. So there are some people checking out the monument. We're just going to start over here to the left and check out these plaques. The Survivors Memorial Organization and the survivors of the USS Indianapolis CA-35 acknowledge the major contributions of the following individuals and corporations in the building of this national memorial. It just lists a whole bunch of companies right here that had a little bit of an involvement in building this monument. This one says, the survivors of the USS Indianapolis CA-35 dedicate this site to all who served their country in the Pacific, living and dead, throughout World War II. Wow. This one here says, the USS Indianapolis CA-35 National Memorial dedicated 2nd of August of 1995, erected by the USS Indianapolis Survivors Memorial Organizations. So, back in 1995 would have been the 50th anniversary of the sinking, and there are directors and volunteers that were here for the unveiling of it, and some of the people that were here for it were actually survivors from the sinking itself. So over here to the left, just beneath the flags, I want to say this is some kind of wishing well some water in there. I would assume it's a wishing well. Not entirely sure. But, yeah. So this right here is an up close and personal look at the CA-35 USS Indianapolis. Beautiful ship. But down here, each one of these cement slabs talks about the entire story of what happened that day. Take a look at the back of it here. Up top, kind of see it. It's really windy out here. It says the final sailing. Listed below are 1,196 names of the officers, enlisted men, and one passenger who made the final sailing aboard the USS Indianapolis, the CA-35, on July 30th, 1945. The Marine detachment is listed separately, and for every star that you see next, see, like you can see stars next to some of the names, that indicates the people that survived. And I believe it was 317 people survived it. Man, that's crazy. And back here just tells a little bit more about the story on these cement slabs here. So if you're unfamiliar with the story regarding the USS Indianapolis, I'm going to give you kind of a brief rundown of some of the information I found online. The Indianapolis made its delivery to Tinian Island on July 26, 1945. The mission was top secret and the ship's crew was unaware of its cargo. After leaving Tinian, the Indianapolis sailed to the U.S. military's Pacific HQ in Guam, and it was given orders to meet the battleship USS Idaho at Leyte Gulf in the Philippines to prepare for the invasion of Japan. Shortly after midnight on July 30th, halfway between Guam and Leyte Gulf, a Japanese sub blasted the Indianapolis, sparking an explosion that split the ship, and it caused the ship to sink in approximately 12 minutes with about 300 men trapped inside, and another 900 went into the water, where many died from drowning, shark attacks, dehydration, or injuries from the explosion. Help did not arrive until 4 days later on August 2nd, when an anti-submarine plane en route patrol happened to find the men and radioed for assistance. The survivors faced incomprehensible misery. They were scattered miles apart in 7 distinct groups. Some were fortunate to have gone on the water near rafts or other floating rations. Others, including the largest group of around 400, had nothing but their life vests and floater nets. Men suffered from exposure, severe dehydration, attacks by hallucinating shipmates, exhaustion, hypothermia, and shark attacks. And some even drank the seawater, initiating a horrible death. On August 6, 1945, the U.S. dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan, inflicting nearly 130,000 casualties and destroying more than 60% of the city. On August 9th, a second atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, where casualties were estimated at over 66,000. Meanwhile, the U.S. government kept quiet about the Indianapolis tragedy until August 15th in order to guarantee that the news would be overshadowed by President Truman's announcement that Japan had surrendered. In the aftermath of the events involving the USS Indianapolis, the ship's commander, Charles McVeigh, was court-martialed in November 1945 for failing to zigzag course that would have helped the ship to evade enemy submarines in the area. McVeigh, the only Navy captain court-martialed for losing his ship during the war, died by suicide in 1968. Many of his surviving crewmen believed the military had made him a scapegoat. But in 2000, 55 years later, after the Indianapolis went down, Congress cleared McVeigh's name, finally. During an interview with Tony King, a survivor, he said that there were a lot of sharks. So many, I'd see them swimming below me. Feeling uneasy telling the story as he was reliving the nightmare, he mentioned, so many friends just gone. So we all remember the famous scene in the movie Jaws, 1975 movie Jaws, where Quint does the Indianapolis speech. That whole speech, amazing. So they want to portray Quint's character surviving the USS Indianapolis. Obviously, if you're a Jaws fan, you know this, but being here and seeing this and then watching the movie and then just putting all of it together, it's just crazy. I mean, obviously Quint's a fictional character. He really wasn't aboard the USS Indianapolis, but it's really crazy. So if you didn't know, here's a little bit of trivia for you. If you didn't know, the USS Indianapolis sank in, I believe, 12 minutes. Did you know that in the movie Jaws, the point from where Quint has the Indianapolis speech, he dies 12 minutes later. He said he'll never put on a life jacket again. All because of this incident. Isn't that crazy? Whew. So if you didn't know, there's a movie called the USS Indianapolis Men of Courage. It has Nicolas Cage in it, it's got Thomas Jane in it, and it's got another actor that I'd like to talk about, Cody Walker, who is Paul Walker's younger brother. He played Petty Officer 3rd Class West, Mr. West. Actually met him a few times out in LA for an event called Fuel Fest, and he was in this. So if you didn't know, Paul Walker's younger brother Cody is in this movie. You can definitely tell it's him. He has some lines in it, not very many, but he is one of the survivors. Spoiler alert. And he makes it home to his family, his girlfriend and stuff, but I'm not entirely sure how accurate the movie is, because, you know, Hollywood likes to put their twist on things, but I'd like to say majority of the movie is pretty much accurate. You know, is what it is. But yeah, check the movie out if you haven't watched it yet. I recommend it. So the whole story surrounding the USS Indianapolis, this whole event occurred July 30th, 1945. Now, for the 50th anniversary, they erected this monument on July 30th, 1995. That's the day that they unveiled it. They had survivors of the ship here all sitting around, and there was military personnel out here, you know, talking and speaking and all the things that they do. But they actually didn't unveil this to the public until August 2nd. So it's really cool that this is here, downtown Indianapolis. So one little tidbit of information I found online that I thought was really cool is that the way they designed this place, the actual placement of this is really interesting. So the bow, the front of the boat right there, facing that way. We're facing west, which means we are facing the Pacific Ocean, where this incident occurred. How cool is that? They did that in remembrance of all the people that perished during this incident. Now you know. All right, I think that's going to be a wrap on the USS Indianapolis monument here in downtown Indianapolis. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. And I would just like to say to anyone who has previously served, who are currently serving in the military, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. And this video is dedicated to everybody involved with the USS Indianapolis sinking. So you are in our thoughts, you are in our prayers. We miss you. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching today.